Dolores, run! Run, Dolores! Do they have Dolores? They got her.
Oh my God, they got Oreo.
My home is being terrorized. My animals are being slaughtered.
You could hear them in the trash can, thumping around, trying to get out, trying to get air, trying to breathe, trying to survive.
This is not right. This is not just. This is not humane. These are my pets. These are my kids' pets. They're gone. They're all dead. Everybody, they're all dead.
Backyard chicken owners are a passionate breed.
At first, we thought chickens were just dumb chickens, but you do fall in love with them.
I would play chase with one outside, and he'd bite me and take off running, then come back to me, and we'd play.
I'd sit on the ground and talk to my chickens. Maybe a lot of people think that's crazy, but those chickens understood.
I have a few old ladies that they have house chickens. Their chickens live in the house with diapers.
Kerri Hand is a retired cop who lives in rural Riverside County, California. She became a chicken owner for the eggs, but then she fell in love.
This is where I would sit, right here. Pretty view and the horses and having the birds. It was just very relaxing to me.
As Hand's family grew, so did her flock.
My 13-year-old son, he's a war buff, history buff. So for this kid's 13th birthday, he wants a Civil War turkey. That's Dolores was her name. And she literally stole the hearts of many. She would jump on you like she was a parrot. When you go sit outside, she'd hop on your lap. She had her little leash. The neighbors loved her. We would walk her.
In December of 2018, Hand returned home to find an ominous notice stuck on her door. It was from the California Department of Food and Agriculture, and it said there was an outbreak of a highly deadly avian virus in her neighborhood.
Virulent Newcastle disease has been diagnosed in Southern California.
Protests in the Inland Empire over the killing of thousands of chickens euthanized, doctors say, to prevent a virus from spreading.
Birds infected with virulent Newcastle disease and their eggs are perfectly safe to eat, but the virus can wipe out massive flocks, and state and federal health officials had ordered all birds across several counties under immediate quarantine, including Hand's. Over the next year and a half, officials searched thousands of homes and farms and identified just under 500 infections. After deciding that quarantine wasn't enough, they ordered the mandatory euthanasia of over 1.2 million birds in high-risk areas surrounding infections, including healthy birds that tested negative for the virus. As the euthanasia teams began to spread out in early 2019, Hand created a Facebook group called Save Our Birds. After reading numerous horror stories from those targeted, Hand started organizing volunteers to show up at kills and film on their phones.
Camera behind your back, you're not gonna film my badge.
This is so outrageous, I can't make it up. People literally, if you tell them about this chicken problem, they will look at you like you are a crazy.
These measures may have been necessary to prevent the spread of the Newcastle virus, but according to the bird owners who spoke with Reason, health officials carried out their duties in a cruel manner, leaving bird-owning families with lasting emotional scars. Hand complied with the state's quarantine orders for months and paid to have her birds tested by a veterinarian, but the state ordered the destruction of her flock anyway. The news came by way of another notice stuck to her front door in April 2019.
It has a box checked that they were going to be coming to kill my chickens.
Hand decided to challenge the order since her birds had tested negative for the Newcastle virus just that week and remained fully quarantined.
I've complied with you. I haven't done anything. My birds aren't sick.
The state responded with a surprise operation. As Hand and her family were preparing to celebrate Good Friday, a team of police and state workers dressed in biohazard suits arrived at her house with a search warrant and an order to kill her family's flock.
It looked like a drug raid is what it looked like.
We are going to humanely euthanize these birds today. You're resisting a public officer in the performance of their duty. Ma'am, we're going to have to detain you if you don't step away.
Hand recorded and shared live video of the slaughter in her Facebook group, Save Our Birds, and it went viral.
Well, then what's the friend after? So my birds are dead. The deputy goes and gets the big bolt cutters so they can cut my fence apart. Or Dolores, which was one of the first ones they went after. And they grabbed her. She was very friendly. She would come when you called her. Thank you, Dolores. And they literally grabbed her by the neck and swung her. I'm not sure if they snapped her neck or not, but they might have. They threw her in a trash can.
I need you to relax, because they're going to have some guns out there. They don't want nobody to get hit either.
Workers kill birds by breaking their necks, shooting them with firearms, or suffocating them with CO2 gas, methods that officials maintain are humane. But Hand disputes that claim. She recalls that workers placed her birds in a trash can with no viewing window, forcing them to lift the lid to check if the birds had died. Each time, oxygen leaked in, prolonging the process.
The flopping, and you could hear the birds crying, like squawking to get out, and the sounds, like, you can't unhear those sounds. My kids, you could hear them in the house screaming out the windows. Do they have Dolores? They got her. Dolores, run, Dolores. I have a metal container in my backyard, and you could hear, like, the pinging of the bullets or gunshots, like, pinging off of it. And then my horses are just running, all, like, dust everywhere. It was like, it's like a nightmare movie that I couldn't even make it up. They left feathers, I found a little bone part. They're gone, they're all dead. Everybody, they're all dead.
After her video went viral, Hand's Facebook group became a place for thousands of local bird owners to share information and support one another.
It just kind of evolved into, hey, if they show up, we'll come be there for you. I'm here, I'm on the other side of the gate, but I'm here for her. All right, thank you. Thank you.
We want to know why our healthy chickens had to die.
Gina Cruz got chickens as therapy animals for her sons, one of whom has autism and Fragile X syndrome, and the other PTSD from combat.
My son with PTSD would go out there and feed them every morning religiously and talk with them and grab them and hold them and say, oh, my baby, and to each and every one of them.
Cruz consented to her pet's euthanasia, despite the fact that officials had found them negative for Newcastle, as long as the process could take place while her sons weren't home.
They came here to slaughter this woman's healthy pets.
But when state workers arrived at her house for the scheduled appointment, reporters and members of Hand's Save Our Birds group were already there, filming. They abruptly left.
She tells me, what is this circus? She says, we're going to reschedule. Gina, we're going to reschedule.
Jesus.
The next week, several police cars unexpectedly pulled up to Cruz's house.
This is awful. This is awful, Paul.
Her son with PTSD was home.
He came out and he watched his chickens, his babies, be killed. So I went and I said my goodbyes and my thank yous to them for all the joy that they had brought to our family.
Oh my God, you guys, I'm so sorry. I love you. I love you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, they got Oreo.
My son with autism, there's not a day that goes by that he doesn't ask for them and ask me to ask the bad guys to bring his chickens back.
Hand says that her teenage son is racked with guilt that he didn't do more to save his beloved Civil War turkey, Dolores.
He's been in the bathroom crying at school, so people wouldn't make fun of him. When he tells me, he thinks he hears her. And he tells you, he goes, it messes with my mind.
Hand and other members of Save Our Birds allege they've documented scores of abuses by state workers and police.
They killed about 6 to 8 of the gal's pets, stopped, told her they were at the wrong house, and left.
They won't leave the paperwork with you to review, or if you don't speak English or you can't read it, they tell them, we're going to come back with a warrant and break your locks and come on your property if you don't sign this right now.
And Mrs. Cruz, are you going to sign the documents?
I want to show an attorney.
Okay. Then I need the document back.
What about when they stepped on the baby dog? What'd they say?
Human error.
Oh, it was human error. Human error. Look what you did.
And then they left it there to die.
As a former cop, Hand is also troubled that courts are handing law enforcement vast powers to target innocent bird owners.
They're treating it as a criminal in nature warrant, but these people aren't criminals. None of them. I don't understand it. I've never seen any such warrant. There's no property description, there's nobody's name, and it basically gives them the rights to go to any property they want to go to in Riverside County.
Months after Hand and Cruz's chickens were disposed of, state officials have continued to search their properties using the same administrative warrant, even when they're not home.
Open your side gate, yes or no?
They've already come back for a recheck. There's a 120-day period. They say they're going to come back up to 10 times. twice fully suited, and go through the yard to make sure we haven't restocked.
The Save Our Birds members also say they've been subjected to surveillance for months.
We're not stalking you, okay? There might be surveillance coming through, just kind of keep an eye on the property and see what's going on.
They try to get neighbors against neighbors. They go into others' backyards to try to look around.
They're asking me for permission to go to my yard.
Going by very slow, staring at us, taking pictures, taking video.
I'm at a red light. CHP pulls up next to me. Hi, Roger. How you doing?
We're like this all the time, you know. That's a hell of a way to live.
Animal health officials, who declined to speak with Reason, have defended their actions on the grounds that backyard chicken enthusiasts practice lax biosecurity and exacerbated previous outbreaks of Newcastle in California, and that they faced intimidation from members of Hand's Facebook group.
The only ones that can make it unsafe is if the group here starts to get a little bit rowdy and they start making our people feel threatened.
Not them.
Our people feel a little bit
Intimidated.
The USDA says it's allocated $45 million in emergency funds for the Newcastle response, but California officials have declined to say how much they're spending.
It isn't believable. The amount of manpower and force and officers and people and cars, I mean, the whole totality of it all.
Officials currently have no plans to end the quarantine, and the euthanasia campaign continues.
Any kind of information, any kind of transparency, we need that. And without that, we've lost trust in them, in their tactics, their bullying, and their inhumane euthanasia.
Hand and her core group of volunteers have pooled their resources to contest the state's warrants, but the outlook is bleak.
You're on your own.
These chicken killers, they don't care what. They got attorneys. That's the government. I mean,
They've got all this money.
They got all this money. And I got upset with them out there because I says, you know what? I fought for your freedom. I fought for my country and almost got killed. I says, so that we could live free and live live how we want to. We don't break no laws. We don't hurt nobody.
And it's bigger than just a chicken. Because what's next? What are you going to come to my house and come barreling in here for?
They continue to film and support targeted bird owners, but they live in fear of California's animal health officials.
Sign right here. You can either sign. If you fail to sign, you're going to be taken into custody. You know. Come on, Kerri.
I'm a nervous wreck. Every Dodge Ram that I see pass by, I believe is them.
I don't know if I'll ever be the same.
For me that day, it changed a lot. Because the system I believed in, the badge I once wore, the oath I took, the integrity I thought that officials had, and what we're supposed to trust, you can't.